that visible rash that we see is not necessarily the origin of the problem. It really is the endpoint of deeper imbalances when that barrier integrity, that immune regulation, that microbial balance, the digestive function are all compromised simultaneously. Chronic inflammation is going to be expressed through the skin. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of The Wellness Effect. Today, we are going to be diving into all things eczema. We are going to be talking about the functional root cause of eczema, why you have eczema, and what you can do to hopefully manage your flares and your eczema and honestly all other skin issues. We're going to be getting into the nitty-gritty a little bit throughout the middle of the episode and really just diving into the root causes of the eczema and other skin issues, but make sure to stay till the end because we're going to be giving you very tangible things that you can implement in order to help manage your eczema, and we hope you enjoy. I feel like I should just address the elephant in the room because apparently Lacey got eaten alive for saying eczema, and we've decided that that is the Canadian way of saying it because growing up, people that would say eczema got made fun of.
Yeah,
so
I got the eczema.
Eczema. So I'm going to be saying eczema. If you have a problem with that, then I promise I'm going to have good information to...
Oh, I was going to say, go fuck yourself.
I was going to say, just stop listening, but no, please listen because if you care, it means
we really
you
need the
views.
views.
Yeah, you probably have eczema and or eczema. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about eczema. We're also testing out our mics really close to our mouths today. So if I make some weird mouth noises, then just ignore that. But the reason why I'm kind of taking on this specific topic, and this is episode 3 of us kind of being the master, I guess, of our own topic, is because I've struggled with eczema and I also just skin is kind of my thing. And so I was really excited to dive a little bit more into this because I've definitely done a lot of my own research, but I haven't really taken the time and gone into the weeds. So it was fun just kind of doing exactly that. But as the rest of the episodes have been, Lacey and Kira are going to kind of offer their own insight, ask questions along the way as well. And I know Kira is going to be able to offer a little bit of a just perspective around babies and children. And that's actually a lot of the time when eczema starts. A lot of the times, if we have eczema, it's something that you are probably going to or your parents will have noticed that you struggled with when you were a kid, because there is a root cause component, but there's also a genetic component to it as well. So I'm really excited to get into it. With eczema, there is different types of eczema. We're going to be talking specifically about atopic dermatitis. And so that essentially is the most common one that we're looking at, the flaky skin, etc. And it is known as with having no cure and one of these chronic conditions. Yet in our practice and in our own experience, we've seen time and time again that there are specific things that are going to make your flares worse, make them more consistent, make it harder to overcome. So the way we understand it is more accurately a systemic inflammatory disorder that is presenting itself through the skin. And it really involves dysfunction across several different systems. And we're going to go over all of those, including just the structural integrity of the skin barrier, the regulation of the immune system, and the balance of the microbiome, specifically the gut microbiome, but also just your skin has its own microbiome and your body's ability to handle inflammatory load, essentially. And we're really going to dive into how that visible rash that we see is not necessarily the origin of the problem. It really is the endpoint of deeper imbalances that we're seeing and dysfunction. Because when that barrier integrity, that immune regulation, that microbial balance, the digestive function, the detoxification capacity are all compromised simultaneously, chronic inflammation is going to be expressed through the skin. So that's what we're really going to get into today. First thing I kind of want to talk about, because I do think it is important. Obviously, we talk so much about what's going on under the surface, but with eczema, there is a component of topical and what's going on like with the barrier. So what I kind of said when I was writing these notes is usually we talk about what's going on this under the surface, in this case, beneath the barrier. But today we actually want to talk about what is happening on your skin barrier. So with our skin all over our body, face, arms, stomach, legs, it serves a purpose both like as a physical and immunological barrier. So it's designed to prevent excessive water loss while also limiting the amount of environmental toxins and allergens and microbes that are able to enter the skin. So it serves both a purpose of not letting things out, but also not letting things in. Now, in people with eczema, this barrier is typically structurally weakened. And so individuals with eczema typically demonstrate reduced production of a specific protein called filaggrin. And filaggrin is essential for maintaining the cohesion and the integrity of the outer layer of the skin. And that reduced filaggrin increases water loss. And then it also enhances permeability to external antigens, which are toxins or foreign substances. So, in addition, the eczema affected skin also typically demonstrates like lower levels of ceramides, which you've probably seen in like a lot of skincare, and essential fatty acids. And these lipids serve once again as structural components that maintain what are supposed to be tight junctions and connections between skin cells. And so when that lipid content declines, that barrier becomes more porous and reactive, increasing exposure to the immune system of that like environmental stimuli. And so to wrap that up, the compromised barrier doesn't simply just create the dryness. It also increases like antigens getting through the skin, and that directly amplifies immune activation. So we'll kind of get into how it is just like this bad circle of events essentially that we're seeing with people with eczema.
Yeah, I heard someone refer to it as like leaky gut on your face, basically. And that's exactly what's happening. So yeah,
so crazy.
So if I'm understanding correct, people with eczema always have that barrier issue along with internal stuff. It's not sometimes you can have like one or the other. It's always both with eczema.
This episode of The Wellness Effect is brought to you by Lifestyle You. If you're listening to this podcast and thinking, okay, this sounds like me, whether it's low energy, hormone imbalances, stubborn symptoms, or you just feel like you've tried everything, Lifestyle You is our root cause coaching program designed to help you actually connect the dots.
We use functional nutrition, personalized support, and functional lab testing to figure out why your body is doing what it's doing, instead of just guessing or slapping a Band-Aid on symptoms.
And because you're a listener of The Wellness Effect, when you use the code Wellness Effect, you'll receive a free functional lab when you join the program. If this episode is resonating with you, make sure to share it with a friend, subscribe to the podcast, and check out the show notes to learn more about Lifestyle You and how to apply. Yes, I would say, like, from my understanding, it's almost like a genetic, and there are more like genetic associations that we see with people with eczema. I didn't go into all of them, but that filaggrin is typically that we're seeing overall. Now, do we know if that like lack of filaggrin is connected to lack of nutrients that we got, or something that happened in the womb, or maybe it is from like poor detoxification, or like a heavy toxic load? That I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows. But a lot of the times you're going to see that like compromised skin barrier along with like the immune dysfunction, the gut dysfunction, etc.
Yeah, I wonder if people can have like low filaggrin but not get eczema. Like, you know what I mean? It's almost like that's the environment, or I mean, that's the genetics, and then the environment pulls the trigger. So that actually makes a lot of sense. Is psoriasis the same? Do either of you know?
No, because psoriasis is autoimmune.
Autoimmune. Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
But I would wonder if with the psoriasis, like if you also would have that barrier.
Probably.
Yeah.
Lack of barrier integrity, and that's why it shows up through the skin.
Yeah, it's almost just like everyone's different. Like right? Like whatever your genetics are, this shitty environment, if you have that green gene with the filaggrin depletion, you're going to show up as eczema, maybe down the line, asthma and allergies. Those are both connected as well.
Yeah.
And then for other people, it's just going to show up in different ways.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really cool example of like we always say, or like we invented this saying, genetics load the gun, environment pulls the trigger.
No, this is like the perfect example of it, because like Lacey said, like there are probably a ton of people with that like low filigrin or that don't have that skin barrier, the strong skin barrier, the low lipids or whatever, and they don't have eczema. And that's kind of where we tie it back. A lot of it comes down to like immune system and gut health and lots of other things.
And even like with it being genetic, so there's the what's it called? The march? Atopic march is like eczema, allergies, asthma, and it is genetic. And Brett, Jake's dad, shout out Brett, had asthma as a kid, but never allergies or eczema. So I'm just like wondering if he has that gene, but for him it only showed up as asthma, or if like, you know, back then every kid just had eczema and they thought it was like heat rash, or because even Jake had a little eczema on his face, and Brett's one auntie was like, oh, he's got a little heat rash. I'm like,
it's like winter, minus 40 out.
Well, no, but he was like bundled up against a blanket, which would like kind of irritate it a little bit. But it's just funny that it's like, you know, maybe then they just didn't know. A lot of moms' kids probably get eczema and they never know that it's it. They put some intense cream on it and it goes away, and then, you know what I mean?
Or you just discount it. It's like, oh, it's a rash, it'll go away. And like a lot of the times it does go away.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times it doesn't. So yeah, now I want to go into the immune component of eczema. Basically, with eczema, it's going to reflect sustained disturbance in immune regulation rather than like an isolated inflammatory reaction. So what I mean by that is in like healthy physiology, the immune system activates when confronted with like genuine threats, and then it results when that threat is neutralized and gone. And it maintains that tolerance to like harmless exposures, such as like different food products or food proteins, environmental particles, toxins, those minor irritants that probably aren't great for us, but it shouldn't be causing this extreme reaction. But with eczema, we see that immune tolerance diminished. And so the immune system becomes extremely hypersensitive and begins responding, once again, disproportionately to exposures that otherwise should be benign for most people. And that heightened reactivity leads to persistent inflammatory signaling. And then we have that ongoing itching, the redness, the swelling, and from there, difficulty returning to that baseline once the flare has started.
And even like, this is crazy, with something that I read was like a lot of people will put like oatmeal, like an oatmeal type cream on their little baby's face. But if your child hasn't proven like oral tolerance and that food, you know, being able to be digested by the gut microbiome, then you can put it on their face and it has this like leaky gut reaction, immune reaction to the oatmeal in the lotion, and they develop an allergy. Their immune system's like, what the fuck is that going into me on my face? That shouldn't be happening. And then they can be like allergic to, well, you'll see things like aloe vera, oatmeal, tallow, like all these things that we think are so incredible to be putting on our skin. But if they haven't proven like oral tolerance, then putting it on their face isn't always great.
Interesting. That's actually so good to know. So good to know. So then that like barrier dysfunction, once again, that we're seeing intensifies that response. And then allergens and those microbial fragrance penetrate compromised skin. And then those immune cells, kind of what Kira was saying, within deeper layers become activated and release these like inflammatory mediators and cytokines. And then those mediators drive like visible symptoms and weaken barrier integrity, creating this, once again, this like self-reinforcing cycle in which that barrier disruption and immune activation essentially like perpetuate one another. And so that systemic contributors amplify that like instability that we're seeing. So once again, like what Kira's saying, if you're like putting stuff on your skin, or you like have something on your fingers and you touch your face, like that immune response is now, because we have that like leaky skin barrier, it's happening through it. And so on top of that, when we have like increased intestinal permeability, like leaky gut, which we see a lot with people with eczema and any skin issue, to be quite honest, and then as well as like microbial, so that like GI imbalance, that elevates like circulating inflammatory signals, which prime the immune system once again towards that greater reactivity. And chronic stress is kind of the same, where it disrupts that regulatory control, increases that inflammation, and then reduces that immune system's ability. So that's why a lot of the times when we have that stress present, we'll see these flares come up as well. And then, yeah, basically just to summarize that, like, once again, eczema kind of represents this like state of immune hypersensitivity, both with like our local barrier and our skin barrier, but also our gut barrier. And then we get that systemic inflammation, and we just get into this, once again, self-perpetuating cycle.
Do either of you know why it's not an autoimmune? It's kind of confusing to me why it isn't.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering the same thing. And I guess maybe if something is genetic, it wouldn't be autoimmune.
It can't be? Does that make sense, though? Because I thought even autoimmune was genetic. Well, can't, like, genetics, pull the gun or load the gun.
Because I think it's more than the immune system. So I think the immune system plays such a big role, whereas I think with psoriasis, it's genuinely just like the immune system attacking itself.
Right.
I would say, if I had to guess.
So that makes sense. It's almost like more than an autoimmune, so they can't like call it that. Yeah, but it like has a lot of those aspects. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would say if I had to guess, but don't quote me on that. So the next thing is just and I've talked a little bit about it, is just the gut-skin axis. And once again, I think with any like acne, eczema, psoriasis, like so many, maybe not psoriasis in there because it is more autoimmune, but also psoriasis, like so many of these things can be tied back to our gut. And so what we see with eczema is that intestinal barrier and then the skin barrier share structural and functional similarities. And so both are designed to regulate what is permitted, once again, to enter systemic circulation while maintaining that immune balance. And when that intestinal lining becomes permeable, leaky gut, bacterial components such as like lipopolysaccharides, partially digested food particles enter the bloodstream. And then these things stimulate, once again, systemic inflammatory signaling and increase that overall immune activation. And so, although the disturbance originates in our gut, the inflammatory consequences are not confined there. And that's the same with everything like chronic inflammation, skin issues. What are other ones where we'd see that show up if we had leaky gut?
Even like anxiety.
Yeah. And so, yeah, what they do is they just circulate through the body and then can intensify skin reactivity. Once again, especially if we have that genetic component where we have that weakened skin barrier. And then once again, the gut microbiome plays a really big role in also modulating this process. So it can contribute to it. And it also, if your gut health was good, it would also help like modulate it, right? So in individuals that have eczema that reduce microbial diversity and diminish populations of like, this is getting into the weeds a little bit here, but like butyrate producing organisms are frequently observed. And butyrate is a short chain fatty acid generated through fermentation of dietary fiber. And that helps support tight junction integrity. It fuels intestinal cells and it promotes immune tolerance. And so something like having reduced fiber intake and depletion of that depletion of that butyrate producing bacteria, once again, weakens the gut barrier resilience and increases that inflammatory signaling. Conversely, overgrowth of inflammatory organisms can further disrupt immune balance. And I'll talk about just some specific pathogens that we see with eczema.
Yeah. And just a quick explanation for those of you that aren't familiar with leaky gut to kind of paint the picture. Your gut, pretty much like you want to picture like a corset, and it's supposed to have like really, really tight, like no holes, nothing, but your gut lining is only like one cell thick. So it's very, very easy to just create holes in there from just our lifestyle, ultra processed diet, stress, all of those things. And then when you have little tiny holes in your gut lining, then food, bacteria, things that aren't supposed to get out of your gut start going out. And then that's what creates that immune response, because your body's like, what is all this stuff doing here? It's not supposed to be here. And then that causes that chronic stress which can lead to it. So.
Yeah. And same thing, like that's exactly what it looks like with our skin. Like if we have that leaky skin, and you can even like there's leaky gums. And so you can see it with all of the different microbiomes that we have in our body.
This is another random question that I don't know if you guys would know, but is it almost saying that if you have leaky gut, you're more likely to have like leaky skin, leaky gums? Like, do they all kind of go together like that, or is it random?
No, it would because a lot of it, part of it is like microbiome that you're introduced to randomly. So like you could kiss someone and get a weird microbe in your mouth, but a lot of it is like you said, Lacey, like stress levels, diet. Are you drinking alcohol? That's going to blast the microbiome in your whole entire body. Are you not getting enough sleep? That's going to blast the microbiome in your whole entire body. So it would be systemic, but I'm sure there would be cases where it could be individual.
Yeah. I feel like with like oral and like gut, those two are probably very closely intertwined because like our mouth is the start of that
But
GI
you know
tract.
what? I'm reading the craziest book right now, and literally the microbiome on your left hand is completely different than the microbiome on your right hand, which is fucking mind-blowing.
Our hands have microbiomes, or you're just like mean our skin?
Oh, but it's totally different. Like swabs of your left hand are totally different than your right hand, just because of like where you go and what you grab and what you're touching. Like,
interesting.
So it's completely different. Like I think even throughout your mouth would have different microbiome. Your gut microbiome is different in the morning than it is at night. So it's like fucking
crazy,
so mind-blowing.
Yeah, so interesting. So yeah, I don't totally know the answer to that question, but can you guys guess what we see in terms of infections in the gut when we see H. pylori? Yes. Good.
Yes.
Ding, anything else?
Parasites?
Parasites probably, but I don't have that here.
That's what I was going to say, but
starts with a C.
C. diff.
No. It's a fungal overgrowth.
Candida.
Yeah.
How did I not get that? That's so
lame.
Well, you did get it.
Stupid. But she had to say it starts with a C, and she had to say it's a fungal overgrowth for me to get it. That's like...
Oh, okay, I guess
I was going to say
too.
Yeah, okay.
So
Candida.
Yeah, another one is, and this isn't like necessarily a overgrowth and or a infection, but a lot of the times with eczema, we see reduced stomach acid. And a lot of the times with reduced stomach acid, we'll see that associated with H. pylori as well. But basically why is like stomach acid is so important. I think we've all kind of gone down this rabbit hole as well, as just like the importance of that robust stomach acid for effective protein digestion, helps like limit the survival of those ingested microbes and toxins, etc. And when that gastric acidity is reduced and lowered, that protein breakdown will become incomplete. We see that defense impaired, and we see risk of just overall dysbiosis increase. And H. pylori is particularly, once again, relevant in this context because H. pylori colonizes the stomach lining and can suppress stomach acid production. It can also impair digestion, generate inflammatory byproducts. And so reduced stomach acid not only weakens that antimicrobial defense, but it also diminishes bile signaling, nutrient absorption, and then these downstream effects, once again, contribute to microbial imbalance, increase systemic inflammatory load.
Yeah, and just make your gut so much more hospitable to things like candida and parasites and all that other.
Yeah, I didn't include this in here, but also it just like helps with like that biofilm production. So those things like parasites and H. pylori and overgrowths can stay more hidden. And then crazy. Candida is another one as well. And Candida's such a tricky one, but it can also stimulate activation, and we see a lot of like chronic inflammation. We see a lot of skin issues with Candida on the skin surface. Overgrowth of organisms such as like Staph aureus are also very common in eczema, and once again provoke that immune response, sustain inflammation. So once again,
so much inflammation.
Like I said, like we were planning out our podcast episodes moving forward, and Kira was like, inflammation. Like, seriously, everything is tied to inflammation. It's actually crazy. I'm going to quickly go over just some like specific things, and I have a little bit of an anecdotal story with these in terms of like what we are deficient in that can also cause that eczema response. And the reason why is because that barrier integrity and that, once again, immune regulation are dependent upon adequate nutrient availability. So there are certain things that we need to make sure we have adequate amounts of. And it's very important as I'm listing these things off. It doesn't mean you should go and supplement blindly with all of them, but you should look into if you have enough of them and certain ways to even get them through food. So the first one is vitamin D. And that plays a huge role in modulating our immune response, maintaining appropriate inflammatory signaling. And we see it a lot of the times with people with eczema. And it's so funny because in Vancouver here, we just started being able to like get vitamin D. And I was a couple weeks ago, or like probably a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I started to get eczema around my eyes. I was like, fuck, I can't believe I'm doing a podcast on eczema. Anyways, the last like 3 days, I've been like sitting outside for like 10 to 20 minutes because it's been so beautiful here and like during like peak vitamin D times. And literally within a day, and this could just be like a complete coincidence, that went away. And a lot of the times people will say like, oh, like I know it's blah, blah, blah because I go to Mexico and all my skin issues disappear. Probably your stress goes down when you're in Mexico. Also, that vitamin D is a huge, huge component. So it's now time to start loading up on your vitamin D, everybody. Kira, can you get vitamin D yet?
6 more days.
That's actually crazy. It's that big of a difference because like I'm not that, I think I'm lower than you, or I'm not that much lower than you.
I'm far away. I know it's crazy that it was like a full 2 weeks, I think.
Wow.
I know.
Have you checked, Elise?
No, but I think I was like 2 or 3 days behind you. So I'm probably like today or tomorrow. But that's such a good point. I never even really thought of that because so many people say that, like I only get it in the winter or whatever. And I was like, I never really tied it back to vitamin D, which seems silly of me, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I'm also interested because I also get perioral dermatitis. And that's the same thing. I only ever get it in the winter. And last summer, I wasn't like as on the ball with this like vitamin D thing that I'm going to be this year. And so I'm very interested because like Kira said in our circadian episode, like you want to start building up those vitamin D stores in the summer. And I go outside lots, but I never like do it intentionally. So I'm really interested next winter with how I'm treating this summer, if it will change things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so interesting. Because that was the same with my psoriasis. Like anytime I would go traveling or whatever, it would always get better. And then when I first started healing it, the first couple winters, it came back. But this winter, it's been gone.
So cool.
Yeah.
Zinc is another one. It's good for the skin barrier. Also, that immune. Vitamin A, really important. Those fatty acids we talk a lot about. I talked a lot about at the beginning. And then that's kind of the main ones. And then like I kind of mentioned earlier too, is just like that adequate fiber intake is so, so, so important for many things, but particularly for getting rid of toxins and that like butyrate production that I was talking about. Any other ones you guys can think of or questions?
Is that just because like the fiber will make you poop? So it like helps remove that? Is that what the mechanism
fiber
is?
Will make you poop, but also it like binds to the toxins.
Excess
and then,
estrogen, yeah.
Yeah. And
then
pulls it out.
Yeah. No,
and it'll help you poop. And if you're not pooping, like
yeah. No,
retro. Almost done here with just a couple more root causes, and then we'll go into like what we can do moving forward. So liver function and just like overall toxic burden is a big one. Once again, like for individuals without that inflammatory and that like poor barrier integrity, like you can kind of handle a little bit more of that toxic load. But when you are susceptible to it, you really, really want to focus on lowering your environmental toxins. But also like mold is another big one. Even environmental pollutants, processed foods, like we said, are going to cause chronic inflammation. They're going to be what causes leaky gut. Same thing with alcohol. And then when we see those like detoxification pathways being overburdened, or that bile flow is impaired, or that stomach acid is low, we see those inflammatory compounds recirculating and rather than being like efficiently excreted. And sometimes that comes out through our skin in the form of eczema, acne, random rashes, whatever that might be. And then once again, bile production is so, so important because that's thing that's essential for that waste elimination and influenced by those stomach acid levels and just overall digestive function and our GI health. So it's not solely linked to liver, but it's very, very important, just overall detoxification. And then, like I said, just those like environmental triggers. And I would say with those environmental triggers, also just like chronic stress, like mental stress. And we are going to be more susceptible in those times because we're going to see a decrease in our stomach acid. We're going to see more inflammation. We're going to see that immune system become disrupted, or that immune response become disrupted. So just
and
being
even just
mindful
the
of
cost, like mineral nutrient wise, of stress on the body is, I think, so under.
Exactly. Like if you have a lot of inflammation and stress, you're like utilizing
even more.
Everything. Yeah.
It's not fair.
So yeah, that's kind of the main, like,
down and dirty.
Yeah. Kira, when you were doing research for Jake, is there anything that, like, I know you mentioned, I didn't even go into this rabbit hole because I was like, oh God, we're going to be here for way too long. But I know you said like babies and the component of like human touch or whatever you said. Do you want to touch on that at all?
Did I say that?
The spiritual connection of Jake actually just needing you to pay attention to him.
I know. That broke my heart. Okay, but that was crazy because I also have this book. It's called Heal Your Body by Louise Hay. Like we all know, like Hay House. She does all the like spiritual books or whatever.
Love Louise Hay.
Okay, and should I grab it and look up what eczema said? Because I was further confirming. I can see it. Just one sec. Sorry.
Do you actually know Louise Hay?
Yeah, she's like big mindset.
The way you said that, I was like, is that like facetious?
No, it's funny. It's like Kirsten Marks.
You would recognize her voice, Jeb, if you heard it, because it's like all of the videos of people. It's like, if you want to do good in life, you must first.
Oh yeah,
that's her.
Kirsten Mark like loves her, and when she died, because she didn't die that long ago, we were going on a walk, and she shows up. She's like crying. She's like, Louise Hayes died. Who the fuck is that? She's like huge. So then after that, I read a couple of her books. It's funny.
Okay, so this book is by Louise Hay. It's called Heal Your Body. It's the mental causes for physical illness and the metaphysical way to overcome them. So it's super woo-woo.
Can you show what the front looks like?
For those watching on YouTube?
For our YouTube listeners, Heal Your Body. And I think she has one that's like Heal Your Soul. Like I think there's like 3 and they're just this little pocket size. It's awesome. But I always use this with my clients because I'm like, okay, is there maybe something deeper going on here? And it's usually right. So the cure for eczema, according to her, is harmony and peace, love and joy. I am safe and secure. It's like the mantra that people with eczema need. So that was just interesting to me after I did like my little own. Did I talk about that on here?
I can't remember if you talked about it in our catch up episode.
I did my hepatic. I think I did. So yeah,
you did.
I just like, oh, he needs more. Like he's this very easy baby, and I can just like leave him and do my thing. And it was like, no, he needs that like safe, secure, physical touch feeling. And that's just a piece of it. I'm not saying that's like what every single baby needs with eczema, but it was just really interesting how it came up for me in like 3 different ways. And then when I Googled it and the first article I clicked on, it said something about it being like physical touch and closeness. And it just kind of all made sense to me. So
can you see if psoriasis is in there and tell me what it says?
Yeah, let's cure you guys. Know your stuff.
If you guys have any requests that you want us to read from the book, you let us know.
Book reading episode.
Per psoriasis. Fear of being hurt, deadening the senses of the self, refusing to accept responsibility for own feelings. That's the cause. And the cure is I'm alive to the joys of living. I deserve and accept the very best in life. I love and approve of myself.
Slay. That makes sense, though, because I pretty much developed it after 3 of the most toxic relationships I've ever been in, where I was too scared to do anything. So, yeah, I think I already knew that because I remember it might have even been that book, but it was years ago. I think Mom told me about the like connection of it. So, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so self-love, that's all you guys have to do. Yeah. And I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next one. Just kidding, everybody.
Just hug yourself and everything will be fine. No,
hug yourself, hug your friends.
A million other things on top of.
No, that, though, is very important.
It just makes me sound like such a piece of shit.
No,
This is when you
no.
guys say, "No, you're not, Kira. No, it doesn't."
No, you're the best mom ever.
Poor guy.
Best mom. Okay. Well, I won't go too fast, but we'll just kind of get through this list of things. So, really, the foundations is a big one, but there is going to be some, like, once again, like skin barrier components in as well. So, rebuild the barrier integrity. We need to support structural repair of the skin through adequate intake of those essential fatty acids, vitamin A, zinc, like cod liver oil, I feel like is just such a great option. Sufficient protein intake, balancing our blood sugar to make sure we're not having that inflammation. And then once again, that like topical care, honestly, should just be so minimal in ingredients, no fragrance, no anything, to be quite honest.
And even, like, a lot of the stuff that I read was literally start with, like, plain filtered water. Like, you need to just put some water on there and let it kinda soak in and get some moisture, and that should be, like, the first kind of one of the first steps too, so you don't even need to get of course, you need, like, moisturizers and whatever, but that can just help so much just adding water in there, which I'm like, "Why
Yeah, and just
did I not
not
think
like
of that?"
boiling hot water, like staying away from
Yeah.
like crazy hot showers. It's so
Filtering
easy
your
to
shower
want to put a bunch of shit on it, speaking from experience, and the less you can, the better. So, restore immune tolerance. What that looks like is reducing that inflammatory load, improving immune regulation through like getting enough nutrients in, stress management, adequate sleep, consistent circadian rhythm. Once again, that like vitamin D, especially going into the summer months, stocking up on that this summer the most you can if that's something that you struggle with. And then supporting digestive function as well. So, supporting our stomach acid, bitters, apple cider vinegar, bitter foods, and that bile flow to improve that like digestion, nutrient absorption, that microbial defense that we're talking about. And then potentially look into, and I really, really recommend with anything skin related, psoriasis, eczema, acne, a GI map. I don't always recommend it, but if you can, it's 100% worth it if it's something you've been dealing with for a long time. So you can address those factors like H. pylori, candida that we're seeing, and just imbalanced microbiome.
Yeah, and there's so many flags on the GI map that can point to leaky gut, and I just think it's
It's just like a quickest way to see what's going on, and like so many people waste so much time on just all these different skincare treatments or lotions or whatever that
even like tons of money on like allergy testing and like, IgG testing, and it's like you could just fix the gut barrier and then you wouldn't even have to worry about the allergies in the first place. So,
yeah. And I don't think this is on here, but like there is like a lot of correlation between, and this is probably a reflection of the leaky gut, but like our dairy tolerance and stuff. So if you're in the process of dealing with it, it might be worth cutting out both dairy and gluten just to like minimize the inflammation and that inflammatory and that immune response, I should say. Address microbial imbalances. So really looking at like adding in more probiotic and prebiotic rich foods, that consistent dietary intake that we talked a lot about, as well as like a diversity is really, really important. So through different things, trying to get in those different colors every day. And why that's just so important, once again, is for that diversity in our gut. So when we have that, we have the strong stomach acid, that bile flow, the butyrate production, we're going to be in a really, really good place. Will that kill off H. pylori if it's present? Probably not. And that's why sometimes you do need to do like deeper testing and you just have exactly what you need laid out for you. But it's a really, really great place to start if you're not. Looking into our minerals. So once again, like the zinc, I would say even like potassium, magnesium, vitamin D, essential fatty acids, so, so important. And just that broader mineral balance for immune regulation, cell turnover, our skin quality, stress resilience, reducing that toxic burden. We have an episode on that. We also have a free resource on that, but just minimize that exposure. In general, we should be, but especially if we're going through a flare, supporting that drainage and elimination. So making sure we're going to the bathroom minimum 1 time a day. And a good bathroom does not mean like having diarrhea, because you're actually not getting rid of what we need to get rid of. And proper hydration, once again, that mineral balance as well. Nervous system support is huge, huge, huge. And that stress management. And then I would just say reach out to support if you've been doing this for a long time and have yet to see results. So that's all I have for you, ladies.
Love it. Whoa, I was louder than I thought I was.
No, that was really good. I think the biggest takeaway, because that was a lot to take in, is just like there is something going on that you can heal and fix if you have eczema.
Well, and it's crazy. Like when I first started looking into stuff for Jake, it was like, there is no cure for this, that your baby's going to have this for life. You might as well just get used to it and go on like topical steroids. And I'm like, holy fuck, like I was freaking out. And I actually ended up talking to another practitioner who specializes in eczema for kids. And she's like, that's the worst advice out there. Like we see so many kids like completely fix it, and we can't say cure because it's technically genetic, but
it's so that, yeah, when I was doing the research too, it's like, there is no cure. And it's crazy. Like when you're in that mindset and you're dealing with something and that's what you're seeing over and over again, like if you or your baby was in an active flare, like no matter how much you believe in a root cause approach and there is something, if all you're reading on all of these like NIH websites and whatever is there is no cure, like you're going to believe it. And then it's like, well, may as well just freaking go on topical steroids and not change anything about my life. But we're here to tell you there has been so many people that, like Kira said, we can't cure it, but you can put it into remission and not have to deal with it like 3 times a year.
And also, side note, sorry about my psoriasis. Is that the same for psoriasis? Because I always get in my head, I never say like cured. I'll be like, my psoriasis disappeared. Or like, I don't want to ever say like healed or cured, because it's, you know what I mean?
I mean, I think you get to decide because it's your psoriasis.
Yeah, but we couldn't say we cure other people's. I think it's like, once again, an autoimmune. I don't think autoimmune also falls into the
because if it's a disease,
no
it technically goes into remission. It's not like your cancer's in remission, your blah blah blah's in remission. So it's like it's still
there.
I don't know.
It's like PCOS is a chronic condition.
Yeah, I would say it's cured. I'm saying right now that I cured Jake's because it's completely gone. So I'm like, I cured it.
We cured that.
I don't care. I cured it.
No, that was awesome. Good job, Jeb.
Yeah, and just one little reminder, like, please, just at all costs, if you're going to go on topical steroids, maybe I recommend not. But if you are, short term, and even short term can cause topical steroid withdrawal.
Yeah, just do your research. You'd Google friggin' topical steroid withdrawal and you probably will not want to do it.
And it happens. Like we've worked, like you think it won't happen and it will happen.
They tell you that it, you have to use it a lot. And I have she's not a close friend, but just someone I know very well in Lloyd, and I've worked with her a little bit. She said the amount that she used 1 bottle in her whole entire life. And the amount that she used was like tip of a pen every day on one little patch on her face right here. Like just a tiny
crazy.
And she did it like once or twice a week. She'd put it on full body TSW. And it's just like
that just does not make sense to me.
Wow. It's, and doctors, I just don't know if they don't understand it. They don't believe it. They think like people are crazy. Like, I don't know what they think is going on with.
Well, it doesn't matter because then they just give you something for that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's what everything is individualized. It's like nothing is connected. So it's like they give you this pill, it gives you 7 other side effects. They give you pills for that gives you 10 other side effects. It gives you pills for that. Like, it's just a never ending fucking game.
But it's truly like, I don't think we can, without having gone through it, understand the impact, but it's severely devastating. It's awful.
Like one of my clients had it, and I like remember like literally crying, hearing about like you're itching all the time. You can't get out of bed. You don't go to social events. You can't work out because any amount of sweat is the most painful thing ever. You can't work because you're constantly itching. You can't type because your hands are like so dry and cracked. Like it is honestly like
it's bad.
Worst like case of like medical malpractice, I think, like letting someone be on this, because the girl I knew, she was on it from when she was a kid and no doctor ever told, they kept refilling her prescription. No doctor ever told her like, maybe you should stop.
So sad.
Yeah. Well, that's it, everybody. Thank you for listening. Hopefully you got something out of this episode. And once again, like Lacey said, the biggest takeaway is that if you are dealing with eczema, you maybe can't be able to quote unquote cure it, but there are a lot of things that you can do to help manage it and reduce any flares. And it is not just something that you are born with and have to deal with for the rest of your life. So if you ever need any added support or extra support, we work with people with things like this all the time: skin issues, random rashes, acne, eczema, psoriasis, and have seen a lot of success. So if you are looking to get to the root cause of your eczema or your skin issues, then reach out to any of us, and our link to apply is in the show notes. Thanks, everybody. Have a great Wednesday.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to The Wellness Effect. We're so grateful to be part of your wellness journey. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and follow us on Instagram. We'll put all of our handles in the show notes. If you have questions or ideas, slide into our DMs or send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep creating your own wellness effect.